Well, we're back with the new media show again tonight, and I appreciate you joining us. Todd's with me, joining me again. So, Todd, how's it going?
I'm alive, live and well, and it's been a very, very busy week for my team at Blueberry, and so if you continue to roll out some new stuff, we can talk about at some point here. But yeah, another week in podcasting, another week of people trying to change the world.
Yeah, right. And also a lot of things that come up in the podcasting kind of ecosystem and pod news and other ones that are feel like they're kind of like happening over and over again for us, Todd, because we've been around long enough to see these conversations happen. And sometimes it's interesting to go back and talk about the things that maybe we've talked about like 10 times over the last 14 years, to revisit them again. And one of them is this conversation that's been happening in an article or two online about the download, right, with podcasting, and
Oh,
whether or not time has come somehow, somewhere, in one's perception that maybe time's up for the download, Todd.
is it 2010, 11, 12, 14, 18, 20, 21,
Yeah, yeah, I think
22?
yeah, I think this conversation has happened a lot. I was thinking about this conversation back when podcasting started because a lot of the distribution of the radio show that I started back in 1999 was distributed by streaming, right? So we've had this conversation around the download versus streaming and who's going to win and what's going to be the future. And it's been an interesting, pretty simple kind of perspective on it up to this point, right? The download won.
Yes, it did, and you know, when these articles come up that says, "We need to retire the download," well, for those that want to do that, go ahead and knock yourself out. There's nothing saying that you can't do that. There is, there's some ramifications to it. Um, so, if this is gonna serve you and your advertising overlords, better, then then do that. And it's kind of ironic because, I'll talk after we get talking about this, I'll talk about a conversation I had just today. Yeah, just today. Um, yeah, but anyway,
Yeah.
there's a little irony here, but um, there's nothing stopping a company from invoking streaming and then watching to see what the fallout is.
Yeah.
They forget there's people like me, and there's parts of the world that are still bandwidth challenged. I've been a little bit bandwidth challenged from time to time right here in the location that I'm at. I go out and guess what? No data.
Yeah.
And I have to find a local, I have to go into a shop or whatever it may be, and they have Wi-Fi, and I connect to the Wi right here in a major metropolitan city
Hmm.
outside of the United States. So, this discussion, let's go streaming, they travel a little bit, get outside the United States, or go
Hmm.
to rural America and see what your experience is going to be like.
Right. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
all works until it doesn't work.
It's a conversation that is kind of like a very loaded conversation from the standpoint of one's perspective on access and also one's current perspective on the desire of the commercial side of podcasting to get deeper metrics, right? I think the conversation has mainly been focused in this article, what was a little bit focused on this as well, is about the accuracy of the information that is obtained primarily for advertisers,
Yeah.
um, that utilizes streaming delivery, right? They know when the stream starts, they know when the stream ends, and that's what the advertisers want. They want to
Right.
know that their ad got heard, right? At the end
Okay.
of the day, that's what they all want, and they want it to have it be confirmed in a way that they're used to seeing it with the
Wish
other
in one
streaming.
hand and do in the other.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
so I'll interject. I I was I don't think I can say who they are, but I'll just give you some street creds. I was introduced to someone by Tom Webster earlier this week.
Mhm.
I was demoed a system that is really a solution that I thought about more than more than 10 years ago as a possible way to monetize the 90% of podcasts that aren't monetized today in a way that would be very, very viable.
Mhm.
And the tech at the time wasn't there. And the company I talked to has spent the last 3 years building something that is wholly remarkable, wholly in line with everything that I've been talking about for many, many years. They don't care about attribution. They don't
Mhm.
care about the numbers. They don't all they care about is the ability to give someone an opportunity to earn a little money from their show if they so choose to, in a
Mhm.
way that allows them to be in more control than any system I've ever seen before. No longer having the agencies drive the discussion. It's essentially a model where the podcaster picks the advertiser.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah,
still a
that's
little
good.
bit of an approval process, but the
Mhm.
advertiser still excuse me, the advertiser says, "Here's the deal." Um, and I don't wanna go much more deeper into that, but I will say that, I think I found my brother from another mother in a meeting today. A 30-minute, meeting turned into 90 minutes, and, um, the company has something viable that I think will benefit my podcasters without the BS that we all have to go through and kissing the asses of these media agencies.
Mm.
Excuse my French. Um,
Yeah, I agree with you, Todd. I mean, it's a lot of these discussions like we're seeing here really fall out of a shift in priority, right? The shift in priority is towards doing things that the advertisers want versus doing things that the audience wants. And at the end of the
and
day, that's what
yeah,
the conflict has always been focused on is who are we doing these shows for? Are we doing these shows for listeners? Or are we doing these shows for advertisers?
and
And all right.
here's part of the 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 bigger challenge.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of money. Okay, so let's look at this from a layered standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, company ABC, Acme Company. Let's go back to Bugs Bunny days. The ABC Acme Company out there, right?
Yep.
And they're selling a product, and they say in the early days they came to Todd and said, "Hey, we want you to advertise the ABC Acme Company," and I would agree or disagree, and we would make a deal, and I would get a superior advertising rate because I did a direct deal.
Mm-hmm.
Then the
Right.
ABC Acme Company, after they tried to manage 4 or 5 podcasters like me, said, "Oh, I can't do this by myself anymore. I need an agency." So then the agency took their 15%, and then the agency says, "Well, we don't know about this performance, even though ABC Acme Company is backing this data out into a CPA and how much they're earning from what they're spending with these advertisers." And they say, "Oh, we need attribution. We need all these things, and you're gonna pay for that, Mr. Podcaster. You're gonna take that out of your hide,
Mm-hmm.
and to be on our system, you're gonna pay us to run this ad tech for you, and then in the end, um, after everyone's done dipping their claws, into the revenue, the podcaster ends up with a pittance of
Right.
what he should have run into.
Right.
And then you got people saying, "We need to get rid of the download because we need more download. We need more data." Please, but take control. We need to take control. And it's all bullshit. All this data that they're collecting, it's all BS. It's all BS. Here's the reason why it's all BS. They're gonna know if their campaign's on performance. If it
Right.
performed, it performed. If it didn't, it didn't.
Right.
If you performed, you get renewed.
So I have a sense here, Todd, and I'm just guessing off the top of my head because I don't know any better here, but I would think that maybe this new idea might be making it easier for people to do or podcasters to do direct deals versus trying to go through a third party to do a deal, right? To
Like
some degree,
the podcaster is 100% control of the
right?
advertising deals that he or she takes. And
That goes
the
back to the very
percent
early days of this medium and why this medium exists the way it does today. I think a lot of people have forgotten that.
so
Yeah.
I can't go into much more than this without really kind of
Yeah.
unveiling the cookie,
Yeah.
but I'll be honest with you, when I first started this conversation, I said, "Man," I said, "the reason we didn't do this 10, 12, whatever the years ago." And matter of fact, we were brought this idea by someone that, basically tried to become part of the company.
Oh,
And I said it was just too hard to connect the dots. Well,
mhm.
these folks have spent 3 years building a system that connects the dots and built a platform that I see why it took 3 years to build. I'm stunned. Um,
Oh,
Simple in execution, hard to implement, hard to replicate. So, I
sounds like a
is it
great business model, Todd.
Yeah, great business model for that team.
Right.
I and when Tom sends me an email and says, "Todd, you need to talk to this guy. You're gonna love this." Well, Tom, if you're listening, a home run, my friend. A
Right.
home effing run. Um, so yeah. And in the end, for me as a host, I have the show as shows get bigger, it's this internal problem for years and years and years. Let's say I help the show get advertisers when they're at the 5,000 downloads per episode mark. That works out really, really well. 5, 10, 15, 25, 30, 40, get to about 50,000 downloads per episode. All of a sudden, that company or that podcaster doesn't want to give Todd 30% anymore.
Mhm.
And they want to do their own ad deals because they're making enough money. So oftentimes I'll start losing shows because they go their own route. Some don't. Some go to a big agency or go to a big, to an Acast or someone like that. But what do I still do for the 90? Actually, it's not really 90%. It's 40% of the remaining 90% that want an ad deal. Because again, only about 40% of shows that aren't monetized would like to earn some money.
Mhm.
And in the end, that show that's got 1,000, 3,000 downloads per episode will never qualify for a HelloFresh or any of these other deals that are out there because the media buyers are too lazy to offer a deal to them. And
Yeah.
okay, so the guy's going to do a $25 CPM after the cut for the media buyer, that's down to 19, 18, 17. And then they get, 34, what is that? What is that high level math here? $48. No, that's $51 per spot.
Mhm.
Is it worth it? No. So if you have the opportunity to have a campaign that offers you the ability to earn a higher than a CPM through a different model, and yes, using a promo code and a few other variables. You know, my biggest challenge is with promo codes was securing the best deal. You know, if I advertise, and it's even true today for GoDaddy, if I promote GoDaddy and I give a promo code out,
Mhm.
consumers are smart today. Many people have that Honey plugin on their Chrome browser, and guess what they do? They go to GoDaddy to buy a product, and then some pop-up comes up and says, "Hey, we potentially have a better deal for you," and replaces my promo code with someone else's. Um, then I lose the credit for the sale. So if you can secure the best deal for a product or service for a period of time where no one else can usurp that. In other words, you say, okay, you're going to get 25% off, product XYZ from the Acme Dynamite Company. You then win-win because they're going to go, if they want to go buy that, you've basically said that I endorse this, which you truly have because it's a product you picked. Then guess
Mhm.
what? You win because that promo code will not be usurped by someone else. So this is definitely not about brand advertising. This is about products and services. This goes back to DR, pure DR,
Mhm.
and but with a twist. Um, Implemented some of the stuff that I've implemented on my own website. You know,
Mhm.
having the promo codes publicly displayed on a page and et cetera, et cetera. So right out of my playbook.
Mhm.
So, to my opinion is we need to take back control again, Rob.
Yeah.
But
What's the irony on this though? Let's think about it is that, you know, these models that you're talking about and this process of sponsorship takes us back to the earliest days of
to
this
the
medium
to
and
the
why this
beginning days,
medium exists,
that's
right?
right.
Or not the
Don't
reason it
exist, but
exists, right?
but it,
But
we
how people monetize in the early days. And it was
right,
really based on building trust. You know,
right.
really at the end of the day, does your audience trust you as a host to represent a product or brand and make a recommendation, right?
Yep.
We've evolved this medium to be kind of like it. There isn't a trust relationship really anymore that's really based on anything that's been demonstrated to the audience. It's just been an implied trust. But when every sponsor you have on your show is probably not something that you have personal experience with and can demonstrate that somehow or share it just by sharing your knowledge of the product at a deep level, right, an emotional level, an experiential level, it kind of takes us into this realm of like commercial radio, right, which we're basically we've been moving this industry towards closer to
Right.
the radio advertising model for many years, and that's that's been something that the industry has wanted to do because we want to monetize things more and get more money and to build bigger shows and but we're seeing a pullback on that right now. There's not the investment in big shows right now. And so now we're starting to fall back into the roots and what actually works and what builds more organic relationships with audiences. Um,
A- And
yeah.
to me, this is why we made the relationship with Backbeat Media.
Hmm.
And Dave and I are on the same page on this attribution piece. We're
Hmm.
going to do pure deals as pure as we can in the way we do them, and
Hmm.
and the ad tech can pack sand. Um, and then people say, "Oh, whoa, you can't do that." Yes, we can.
Hmm.
How much data do they need to be happy?
Right. Yeah.
It, at some point, and again, this conversation that we're having right now is purely for those that just want advertising. And
Yeah, that's true, and
You know,
it's what percentage of the market. Now, granted, I think there's a desire of the hosting platforms to be able to get more money to more shows,
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
and I think we want that, but what are we compromising to make that happen is the big question, right?
So, so if you tie back and go back and we think about these tiers of
Mhm.
monetization. We've got value for value,
Right.
which in the purest sense is probably the model that most shows should really be approaching.
Mhm.
Um, even before they start thinking about taking an advertiser, get that listener support. The value for value is really going to, time, talent, or treasure. And
Mhm.
it because then it ties into more than just getting money. Time and talent means you get people in your audience to try to help you,
Mhm.
submit clips, submit ideas, help you with social, do the things that you don't have time to do using your audience and the biggest fans of your shows to provide their time and talent.
Mhm.
Then there's some that have their busy lives and they can provide treasure. They can provide some support, whether that be through a monthly PayPal donation, whether that could be through living streaming sats, that whether it be by boost in value for value, that's fine. And then promoting yourself. What are you offering? Are you using your podcast as a funnel?
Mhm.
And when you're small, those are probably the three options. And then now this platform that I've been exposed to, I think will become a fourth tier. Now, if you get big, yeah, go sign that big ad deal.
Mhm.
I did that, and I'm still being rewarded for the hard work that it's money. It's real
Mhm.
money.
Mhm.
So yeah, when you get all these technologists in the middle and snooty little media buyers that want every little speck of information, um, I'm so done. I'm so done with ad tech. I really, really am. And it's the same thing in programmatic.
Mhm.
How many people, how many hands touch the percentage of that revenue before it gets back to the podcaster? It's a huge amount. I
Yeah.
bet you 50%. This is why when we did our deal with SoundStack, I said, I will take I'll take less money to make sure we make the podcasters get the maximized amount.
Right.
So I took a very small, like almost like an administrative fee.
Mhm.
Um, because we have to write the checks and do the accounting and well, not really do the accounting, but do all the, basically administrative work. So I took a small administrative fee. Why? Because I want the podcaster to earn the most. Even in this deal that I'm talking to with this new platform, Todd's gonna earn 0 revenue. Todd and
Mhm.
Blueberry,
Mhm.
0. But guess what's gonna happen? We're gonna be able to put, potentially, money in podcasters' pockets, make them fulfill the feedback cycle to be able to say, "Mama," or their partner or whoever it is, "I got a check for $82. Let's put that against a bill." Or, "I got a check for $182. Let's put that against a part of the car payment," or whatever it may be. That
Right.
that basically justifies the time the podcasters put into doing the show. There's a multi-tiered approach here, and
Mhm.
podcasters can have it all.
Yeah. Well, and it does raise the question in my mind too, Todd, around the desired metrics and measurement
Yeah.
that are out there as well, and this case that this article is making about that we need streaming metrics, not download metrics, and somehow that's going to make the advertisers
Ah,
happy.
no.
And
They
I
found
guess
nothing makes them happy.
Right. Well, I mean, what is it about that streaming metric that will make them more happy? I think one of the things that we haven't seen is transparency on both sides of this issue.
Well,
But all I hear is the advertisers wanting more and more and more and more data to be able to whittle down the effectiveness of these campaigns, and maybe ultimately it drives lower CPMs eventually.
well, they're definitely going to pay less because you're going to earn less.
Right. And it's also, but at the
But
end of the day, what's the actual ROI on these things too? That's not being shared back
right, right,
to the sell side.
right.
What's the ROI? What's the effectiveness? So there's not a balance in the marketplace right now. That it leans entirely towards this industry catering to the needs of the advertiser.
Because
And right,
what have we done over the past 10 years? So
right,
we got the IB spec in place. Everybody took a haircut, anywhere from 5 to 30%.
you know,
Um,
and many platforms took a haircut here recently with the
e-
change in the
exactly.
Apple platform.
And
Right.
and there's a percentage. We didn't see as big of a haircut, but we saw a little bit just because of the change in the way. So,
Hmm.
so yeah, so everyone took a haircut. Everyone took a haircut.
Yep.
And did CPMs go up?
Nope.
Not a dime.
Right. So supposedly, though, the numbers are much more,
Accurate.
accurate right now, but
Yes.
it didn't move the needle when it comes to
So we've,
ad deals.
and so did the CPM go up? No.
Mm-mm.
And they said, "No, that's the goal." Well, that was the goal, but it wasn't the reality. So now, be careful what you wish for, folks. Now you're gonna say, "Okay, let's go to streaming."
Guess what? The
And yeah,
numbers are now lower, which
yep,
means podcasters make less money,
yep. But if
and
if that
but the
but
ROI is still there, right?
if I had a absolute underwritten, unequivocal guarantee that we switch to streaming and my podcasters are going to earn more money because the content's more valuable now. No, it's not. What they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, now we got you all on streaming. Now we don't need host red. Now we're just going to fill you with crap. See, it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
You want to sleep with the devil? Come on.
Well, and Todd, if I think back to the past, we've always said, "Be careful what you wish for here,"
That's right.
because you pull back the covers on everything. And now, granted, this isn't being said to say that that there's anything being hidden here, but there is a level of kind of assumption of connection with audience that goes beyond hard metrics, right? So it's really a double standard, because a lot
It,
of
it,
these media buyers have been buying commercial radio for all these years, and there's less data there, but they
there's
spend
no
lots
data.
more money over there.
There's no data.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, an estimated market.
Yeah.
If I advertise on my little radio station, that they can tell what the maximum size of that audience is going to be based upon how far that signal can be heard. And then, oh,
Right.
okay, that radio station gets this percentage of market share,
Right.
supposedly.
Right.
And so we're gonna, this is what your value at. That's what the advertising value's at.
Yep.
And if I was able to charge radio rates in podcasting, we'd all be rich.
Right.
We'd all
With really no
be
accountability.
rich.
No
Rich.
accountability for actual listener numbers, really.
2 billion? We're not
Right.
if we had a
Right.
radio model,
Yeah.
podcasting would be a $50 billion industry.
So there is a little bit of a game being played with the digital medium.
So
There's a different standard being
when we
expected. Right.
and who's really getting rich? The tool maker, the ad tech, taking their piece out of this.
Hmm.
So who in the end gets bent over the table? Podcaster.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry I'm being graphic tonight, but it's just one of those things that I got fired up. It's just like, finally I talked to someone today that gets it. and has serious street cred.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks they think the same way, and sick of the same BS that I'm sick of.
Yeah.
So I'm moving full force, full steam ahead.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be able, probably take a couple of weeks, maybe a month to get something put together here. But we are going to rock and roll with this. And when I explain it all, I think, and when it's going to be made available public to everyone. It's not going to be a Blueberry exclusive thing. Uh, they're
Yeah, I
just
know that.
ramping up.
I mean, Todd, I know that this conversation is not going to be popular in the podcast industry. I mean, there's a constituency in the industry that is like gung ho monetization, gung ho advertising, gung ho. We're all here because we have to pay our big, staffing and there's expectations now for monetization and podcasting, and we're basically saying that what the industry is pursuing right now is kind of a little bit of a mistake,
Well,
and
I'm
that's a tough conversation to have. And I
so,
guess my question for you, Todd, too,
yeah,
and I need to be held accountable to this question too, is okay, this is our opinion about what's wrong.
sure.
What can we do to make it right?
Up
And
until let me look at the time here.
right.
Up until 8 hours ago,
Hmm.
I didn't have a solution.
Yeah.
So this is, to me, the conversation I had today, game changer. Is it perfect? No. No system is. But is it fair? Is it transparent? Absolutely. Absolutely unequivocally fair and transparent.
Hmm. I guess
And
that's the criteria that's most important, right?
yeah,
So, so if we want to get over finally after 5 years, get over 2 billion in industry advertising sales, which I I don't know if that's going to happen this year or next
no,
year
no,
or
it's
at
not.
some point in the future, but we're basically stagnant right now around
Oh,
advertising growth. And
it's podcast advertising is facing a existential crisis,
yeah,
and
nobody wants to talk about that though. That's the thing.
do it's facing extension, and it's going to hit a wall.
I think we already have, haven't we, Todd?
Well, probably we have, but it'll become more apparent. And
And where? Yeah, go
why
ahead.
have we hit the wall? Because media agency buyers are lazy, and they're not. And I'm probably pissing some people off here, but they're not willing to look down and come up with innovative solutions, and they want control. What I was demonstrated today uh, really takes
The
man,
control back.
it takes the control back in a big way. And the company that has built this, they're gonna be handsomely. Someone is, once this gets out and gets momentum, someone's gonna come in and try to swoop this up. So, but once the model is laid out and people see the value in it, then even though it could get swooped up and bought up, um, it can be duplicated.
Hmm.
And there's a way ahead. Um,
The question gets back to also, is there a patent on this that has been
there's a
filed?
patent on some of the tech,
Yeah.
on some of it, but the
Hmm.
fundamental way of doing this, no, I don't think so. Um, he did mention there was a couple of patents, but it's on pre-existing tech. This is someone that's been in the space. Tom Webster doesn't recommend people very often. And when someone has known Tom Webster for 30 years and Tom Webster trusts this individual, to me, that's all Steve
Yeah.
Goldstein knows about this platform too.
Hmm.
So, um,
Yeah. Is
and
it
it's
from a person that has an existing reputation in the podcast medium, or is it
no,
someone from
not
the
in
outside?
podcasting, but it has a major reputation in radio.
Oh, on the radio side.
And but
Okay.
they're tired of the bullshit that's going on there too. So
Mhm. Yeah, 'cause I'm not
I
sure this is all gonna work based on a radio model.
it's not a radio model.
Yeah.
It's not a radio model. He comes from radio.
No, I mean,
It's
but the methodology that's being pushed into the medium right now is
oh,
really kind of rooted in radio kind of
yeah, but this is a
ideas.
pure this is a pure PURE podcasting solution.
Mhm.
And it's so simple. I mean, I thought about it 12 years ago, but I didn't have the tech to build to do it. Which was so
Got it.
funny because I just laughed.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not entirely a new idea. It's just not something that
No, they spent 3 years to build a platform to do the interconnects,
mm, okay.
to build the relationships and connect with sellers and retailers and, you
Mhm.
know.
Okay.
So,
It's a
again,
true
it
marketplace of opportunity, and then it sounds like for everyone involved.
yeah, essentially, but
Yeah.
in a unique way.
Mhm.
And again, going back to what I said earlier, guaranteeing the best promo code.
Does it create an atmosphere where there's accountability on both sides of the
That's right.
transaction?
Yep,
Okay.
it does.
Well, that's the big piece that's missing.
Yep, that's the key here. You know, the agreement they have with the sellers is you shall, you will, and you won't offer a better deal somewhere else during this period of time that we put this offer together.
Mhm.
And in exchange, you get access to this bevy of there's about 100 podcasters that have been beta testing this for a year.
Mhm.
So
Hey, Todd, let's kinda change topics
sure.
right now and kinda move on to talk a little bit about some of the stats that have come out. I know a lot of people in the industry like to see and try and comprehend what's going
Man, I
on with
like to
the
dog on
stats.
Apple.
Right. And there were some stats that came out this week, which you have stats that come out every week as well around,
Or every month.
you know, what yeah, that are covering kind of where people are listening to podcasts, like what platforms like Apple or Spotify, and what's that distribution look like. And it was announced in Pod News that Libsyn had their May stats that showed a new low for Apple Podcasts
What
in
was the percentage?
their market share. Let me pull it up on the screen here, and you can see it here. Let me. Oh no, this is it here. Let me pull it up here, and we can talk about it a little bit. So, okay, here it comes. And so this is stats from Libsyn Hosting. So as you're looking at this,
What is that? What's that line number when you hover on that? Keep going down. Then where does it go to
it's
the bottom of it?
Apple. It's Apple
Yeah,
Podcasts.
yes. But go to the bottom of that purple line. What's
So,
that number? Keep
so
going down. Yeah,
all the way
47.
down is 47.3%.
And I'm going to look at Blueberry.
That's as
We
of May of 2024. And
we
then if
are
you go
okay.
ahead, Todd.
We're at 50.59. Blueberry's at 50.59 for May of 2024.
Okay.
So not that much difference. 3%
Well,
split.
but the significance here is it's basically almost like a free fall though. Because if you back up to October of 2023, it was at 63.7%. And then if you look down the screen, that green line here is Spotify.
See, that's an incredible number because compared to Blueberry, we don't have anyone above 10%. Well, we do. We actually have the Chrome browser above 10%. But again, different audience. We have people that are, a different customer makeup. Most of our customers have their own websites.
Right. And if you
So,
back down to, let's say, March of 2022 at Lipson, it looks like it was 10%.
well,
So in 2 years, we've seen it go from 10% up to 23%.
Spotify's making noise and Apple's not.
Yep. And it also looks like we've seen growth with, I'm not sure what X, Apple, and Spotify is at. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
sure
don't know
what
what
that
that
is.
is.
That appears to be growing, and the other one that's growing is Mozilla and Firefox.
Yeah, see, that for us. We are our browser share, Chrome specifically, is at 10.85%,
Hmm.
and Apple Other, which is known as Apple Core Media, is
Right.
at 6.39%.
Yeah.
And our Spotify number is 1.53, and people say, "How can it be? How can it be?"
Right.
Well, people don't listen to tech, religion, business, news on Spotify, which is, basic my top 5 categories.
Okay. It says this is podcast apps under 5% market share, and it shows
That's an
Mozilla
outlier.
Firefox growing
Yeah, there's something weird.
6.9%.
That
Right.
that I would wait until next month to see what happens there, but
And it looks like
Overcast 2.6.
Overcast is up 2%.
So where's Overcast on our system? Overcast is at 2.45%. So a near mirror. Where's Podcast Addict in that stack?
Let's see.
So
If I look at down here, Podcast Addict. All right.
I bet it's the next one down. So just
Right
go
here,
to the
right
next.
here. It's this one here.
Podcast Addict is 0.3. See, we're 2.39 for Podcast
Oh,
Addict.
that's a big difference.
Big difference. How about Castbox?
Castbox is green right there. That's a
And what's
fall
that
off
number?
there. That's a fall off. No, that's Google Podcasts. Castbox must be this one right there.
Yeah, go to the
Castbox.
end and see what that number is. So they have 1.1,
1%.
and Castbox for us is 2.26, whereas Google Podcast app for us is 1.27. And
Mhm.
it's steadily dropped. It was like number 3 or 4 here before
Mhm.
they start. Of course, that's just going to go completely to zero here very, very quickly.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah, Spotify's the big winner in probably
Yeah.
the big winner in the Google Podcast drop off.
Oh yeah, I would imagine that
Yeah.
the removal of Google Podcasts has really helped Spotify a lot.
Yeah.
Added at least a couple percentage points.
Jeffrey asks, how will these numbers change to Spotify video? I don't think it's going to change at all because there's extra effort. And actually, you are screwed if you screw your audio show if you upload video over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, so here's the percentages on your platform, Todd.
Yeah.
Let's expand on this a little bit more. Okay, so you can see Apple is 50.59% and Chrome
Yeah.
is
So
10.85.
yeah, it's huge.
Right.
But again, it should be it would be natural. We have PowerPress. Everyone that publishes uses uses our player, so we should be high on mobile desktop.
Yeah, that's true. And it looks like you're showing good numbers for Overcast and Podcast
Yeah.
Addict.
Yeah.
And
It's just Spotify's
other,
our outlier.
right. And then Apple Other, right? So should that be should that number be added to the Apple Podcast?
Which one?
Number, the Apple Other?
No, because that's Apple Core Media. That
Oh,
is
it's Apple Core Media.
basically
Other
anyone.
apps.
Yeah, other apps. Jeffrey says, should we not be putting up Spotify audio and video, or should we only put video on YouTube? If you put up Spotify video, you need to do it in a new listing. Because if you put up a video on Spotify, your
Yeah.
audio is no longer served.
Yeah, it's no longer there. Well, your number here for Spotify is
Yeah.
1.53.
Yeah. It's again. Now, again, the reason it's drove down, no one's listening to religion. And I have a massive religious user base.
Mhm. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting, Todd.
but yeah, I'm not worried about Spotify video.
Mhm.
I will say we've launched some new stuff this week. Maybe it's a good interlude to talk about that. I get to toot my own horn over here a little bit.
Sure.
Uh,
Sure.
we've this is a pretty basic one. We've basically created a art generator for podcast album art. So it basically give folks the ability to create album art and be able to edit it and put your text in, and show title and all this stuff, and basically gives them the ability to, and it's really, there's a lot of onus on the podcaster to write a good prompt,
Mhm.
uh, and if nothing else, help them get some album art. If it turns out, and again, I think probably 50% of the time they're going to be able to get something decent. uh, and we worked quite a bit on making sure that the instructions were there to, you need to really write a good prompt, and you can do this on ChatGPT, so it's not like or
Sure.
Claude, so you could do this anywhere. The only difference we made is it's right in the platform, and you can update it with a couple of clicks. So
Mhm.
it's not going to be for everyone, but just something we added. It was pretty easy add, but the one of the big things we added earlier in the week was, Rob, how many times have you heard of a podcaster say, "How do I compare to other shows in my own category?" Have
Right.
you heard that?
Yeah, I've heard people say that before,
Yeah,
and because they'll go and look at other shows in the same
yeah.
genre and do some comparison. Sure.
So what we actually do is a roll up. We basically say, "Okay, here's your primary category.
Mhm.
Your recent episodes," an example that I give, and it's hard to see because we basically say, your recent episodes, last 4 episodes, you had an average of 743 downloads per episode. Then we give them the global averages of those shows we measure at Blueberry, um, for the comparison. So we also say, okay, you're doing 4 episodes a month. So we do a
Mhm.
comparison to shows that are doing 1, 2, 3, and 4 plus episodes a month. So as an example, in what we put on the blog was shows that were doing 1 episode a month was getting 349, 2 episodes 217, 3 episodes 485, 4 plus episodes 970. So you can kind of see, all right, then this particular example, you're doing 743, someone comparable in your category is doing 970.
Mhm.
So we basically laid out how they compare to other
Right.
shows in their category. Uh,
Yeah.
and then we did some work on our trending charts. We basically made it more granular to let them see
Where
more
people are dropping
detail.
off and stuff on there,
The trending charts are, we've got
or
a
more
basic trend.
download trending? Is it download trending or
It's
is
just
it
downward
playback
trend,
trending?
yeah,
Okay.
by day, by month, and we give them the ability now to kinda see data by year, and
Mhm.
basically, it gives them a little more, it's just more graphical, I guess, is the better way to
Mhm.
say it. So, yeah, so those are the 3 things we put out this week, and again, actionable information that hopefully will help your show. Now, it could, some of that category comparison stuff could be pretty scary, because if your number's 82 and you're
Right.
doing 4 episodes a week, and the industry average is, or our average is 886, then,
You got
you've got some work to do.
you got some building to do, right? Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just, again, the transparency. How's your show doing,
Right.
And So but that category comparison is only available to our customers that are on our Thrive program. So
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
that's what we've been up to. A little whack-a-mole, a lot of little whack-a-mole stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well,
meanwhile,
Todd,
I'm
let's
still trying to go ahead.
oh, no, no, you go ahead and finish what you were about to say.
We've been trying to get our clip creator across the finish line, and
Mhm.
just the prompting has just kicked my butt. And and I said, well, why don't we try? Because we have the ability to switch large language model based upon the best use case. And we switched the language model over to a different one that I had been testing on. And I think I can get my clip creator across the finish line now.
Okay.
Because the responses that were coming out from the system we were using was absolute garbage.
Oh,
You know,
really?
it's basically telling us, like, pick out five highlights of the show, and it was bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. So
Oh,
bad,
wow.
that's why I haven't released it in the last month.
So was it
So
a partner platform that was specializing in those kind of prompts
no,
or
it's just one that
yeah.
does a better job at that type of a query.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Is it
so
a like a large language
yeah, it's one
model
of the
that's out
large
there?
big it's
Okay,
one of the
it's not
large big ones. Yeah,
okay, it's not
it's not a
ChatGPT,
custom one. No.
but a different one. Okay.
Well, let's just put it this way, ChatGPT didn't do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an important takeaway from that, that
And some stuff
I think it
ChatGPT does
does
great.
it does kinda struggle with stuff sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah,
I
and no
have
amount of
oh, go ahead, Todd. Yeah,
no amount of prompting,
fixes it.
um, fixes it.
I I have here recently seen the image generation of Chat
Got
GPT
better. Yeah.
4 get a little better here recently.
It's still
It's
a little
still
s
off. Yeah, it's
yeah,
still
it's not
right.
perfect.
It's not, but
Still misspells words and,
yeah, it does. Or it completely
so
creates its own language, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
It
it's
it in
it's
not only
rather
language,
ironic.
but symbols too.
Yeah, right, right. And it just loves to put, beards on men. Have you noticed that? It just
Yeah, yeah.
can't seem to break that habit. I keep telling it to generate an image because I don't have a beard on, right? So I don't
Yeah.
wanna be represented in the artwork as having a beard, and it just can't seem to remove
Yeah.
the beard. It
So,
just it
you know,
absolutely can't do it.
some of the stuff is hokey, but it is
Yeah.
what it is, right?
So Todd, on another topic, there was a digital news report 2024 that came out saying that podcasts continue to attract younger, richer, and better educated audiences with news and politics shows that are heavily skewed towards men and partly due to the dominance of male hosts. This is primarily outside of the United States.
Huh.
So we're seeing data starting to come in from research around audience growth outside of the U.S. Here's the actual. This is in Pod News. Thank you, James, for posting this up here and bringing it to all of our
Who did
attention. But
this source? Reuters?
uh, yeah,
Reuters
it was.
Institute Digital News Report.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the Digital News Report 2024 is what this is.
And how many countries? UK, USA,
Carolina.
Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Ireland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Belgium, Netherlands, Switzerland, Austria, Japan, Australia, Canada. So that's one, and let's count the countries here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So that's a pretty big study. They talked to 40,000 people across those 20 countries.
Right. It's a good. It's a
That's a
good.
that's a
Uh,
that's a big sample.
right. And this chart that we have up on the screen, if you're listening to the audio on this, charts the growth of any podcast versus news podcasts from 2018 to 2024. And what we see is on the any podcasts, it started out about 29% of the population listens to a podcast at least once a month
Yeah.
in all these countries. And then over subsequent years, it goes up and down a little bit. It goes from like 29 to 28 in 2019, And then in 2020, it goes up to 31. It stays at 31% through 2022. And it has a 3% jump in 2022 up to 34%. And then it stays at 34% through 2023 and then jumps up to 35% in 2025.
Whereas
So
news podcasts stay 11, 10, 11, 11, 11, 11, 12,
kind of
13. So
pretty flat line. So
pretty flat. But
yeah, so
it's being
this
Reuters.
growth,
Yeah,
oh,
go ahead.
this
Being it's
growth,
Reuters. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry, we're stepping on each other again.
that's okay. This growth doesn't map precisely to the growth of audience in the podcast market. I think the podcast market grows a little quicker in the U.S. I meant to say grows a little quicker than this. So we have seen steady growth, but it's not as quick as what's happened historically in the U.S. But go ahead, Todd, with what you were going to.
It's having done a news show, even though it's a tech news show for nearly 20 years now, it's pretty obvious. My audience runs heavy on men listeners, but we've slowly grown the show from 1 to 3% of women listenership to maybe now 12 or 13%. Not much higher than that, as I do my annual demographic surveys. So it makes sense when they say that news shows. That's interesting. What was the specific quote about news shows over outside the United States?
The exact quote was podcasts continue to attract younger, richer, better educated audiences with news and politics shows heavily skewed towards men,
Mm.
partly due to the dominance of male hosts is what they're
Oh, that's
supposing
the
here.
attribution.
Right. And then adding many markets have become saturated with content, making it hard for new shows to be discovered and existing shows to grow audience. So
I don't. That's a weird assertion based upon where we're at today and the
mhm.
number of new episodes being put out every month.
Well, that and also, this is a reflection of what's going on outside of the U.S. So in
Yeah.
other countries around the world, this is the perception. But we've gone
But
through phases in the U.S. where people have felt this same thing as well.
when I talk to, when we go to podcast events, the podcast show, and it's a great mix of humanity. But I rarely hear about a lady saying she's doing a news or politics show. It's either
It is unusual, yeah.
yeah. So maybe
There's
it's
shows
just
out there, but it's not
yeah. But
as
I
many.
it's just like sports shows. Sports shows are pretty male dominated.
Mhm.
And there's ladies that are doing those shows, but you don't hear men doing fashion shows, or or doing a lot of self-help shows. So I
Yeah.
think we have to take into effect, that everyone thinks the world's flat right now, and everyone is, everything. Everyone is everything. Well, no,
Yeah.
there's still these trends of, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not a sports fan, but I have friends that are absolute fanatics, and they listen to nothing but sports shows. That's it. They don't
Well, Todd,
listen to
yeah.
you know.
I do think
And
that
there's
there's trend lines around what people are interested based on their gender
yeah,
and their age,
yeah,
right? That
of course.
are legitimate. We shouldn't go through looking at this data from the standpoint is that everything should be equal,
Equal. Yeah.
right? Because women or females have different interests than males
Yeah.
have. And
Yeah.
so we have to take that into account. We can't just say,
That's why
well, there's something
true crime
wrong because there's not enough women doing sports talk shows, right? Or
yeah,
news
that's why
talk shows,
that's why
right?
true crime is so heavy on women listeners, and,
Right.
it's a weird phenomenon to me, but
Yeah.
on the other hand, the assertion that younger and more affluent, well, pod podcasting has always
Cater for
been
that. Right.
catered to people that if I look at demographic surveys, and I can look at a bunch,
Hmm.
It's there's this line. It's like this. For those of you that aren't watching, it's basically like what's the best analogy here? You know, on the left you have people with no high school diploma,
Right.
and then you have high school educated, associates, bachelor's degree at the top of the pyramid,
Hmm.
and then on the other side you have uh a master's degrees, and then at the bottom of the other side of the pyramid, you have PhDs. So of course,
Yeah. There's fewer
the
people with PhDs than there are with people with
right,
bachelor's degrees still.
yeah,
Right.
but
Right.
still the percentage of people listening to podcasts with PhDs and master's degrees and bachelor's degrees probably are more from a percentage standpoint than those with, because if you look at a no diploma, no high school, that number's like it's lower than national average.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing wrong with, I went 20 plus years in coming out of high school and only having a high school diploma, and only later in life did I get my bachelor's degree. And
Yeah.
I made a great living. I built a business without having a bachelor's degree. So
Yeah.
there's nothing and here's the thing too we have to think about is a lot of non-degree holders are just as affluent.
Right.
Matter of fact, some people are being very, very smart now. They're coming out of high school and they're working the trades. And
And
in
they're
5 years, they're making
not going to
$150,000.
college,
Yeah, they're
which
making 150 grand,
which
you know?
which is becoming less necessary for creating a career. I mean, having a college
And
degree is not always a requirement now.
and probably with all this AI stuff coming, it's gonna disrupt a lot of jobs. Um,
Yeah.
you're probably safe if you're a plumber. And then nothing, we all need plumbers, and we all need HVAC people, and we all need bricklayers. I mean, we need these people. You
Right.
know, the world was built upon tradespeople.
Yeah. That's
The
right.
chair you're sitting in today would not exist without people that work in trades.
Yeah. Well, manufacturing, creating a hard product, right? I think
So
that
what's the
our
definition
economy
of
is,
affluent?
well, I think that definition is probably changing right now to some degree, right?
Yeah, but, they say affluent. What does affluent mean? Affluent to mean, means, hobnobby and hoity-toity and, you know,
Right.
eh, you know, affluent means buying power, right? People have buying power.
I think we're all under attack on
So,
that side, right? Because of
oh
inflation
my
now.
god.
So, yeah.
Yeah, have you went to the grocery store lately? So
Yeah,
by the
right.
way, we have been live and lit today,
Oh, terrific.
and I do wanna read a few sats, a few comments. Sam Sethi came in last week with 1,449 sats. He says, "True fans support Spotify impact on RSS and what podcasters should know. True fans support from Spotify impact on" oh, okay, this was from show 590. He just basically boosted the show. Um 1,701 sats from Mike Dell. "Hi, guys. Spotify should stay in their lane, music." Um, so and we've had a bunch of people that have been streaming sats too. So I wanna thank those of you that are streaming sats by the minute.
Mhm.
Chad F has, been started streaming the show here a little bit ago today, doing it while we're live. And yes, we are live and lit. We're streaming the audio version of the show, and you can find this show on those newfangled podcasting apps at podcastapps.com.
Yep.
So,
Todd, I found
yeah.
a website that does a terrific job of shrinking podcast artwork down to um, like going from like a 3,000 by 3,000 pixel cover art
Yeah.
that's maybe like 1.2, 1.3 megabytes in size.
Uh-huh.
This website will shrink it down to like 200K and still
Oh,
keep its quality. And
is it
this
Smash It or what is it?
it's called
Oh, Tiny
tinypng.com,
PNG. Yeah. Tiny
and
PNG has a WordPress plugin for those of you that want to smash your images before they are posted to keep the image size. So, yeah, I'm familiar with Tiny PNG.
you are okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, I
As a matter of
found that
fact,
one.
we run that plugin on New Media Show.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it takes the art that I create and reduces it down to like 200K.
Yeah, because there is a kind of a recommend. I'm not sure. Does as far as you know, Todd, does Apple really enforce that file size restriction of 512
I
on a
I don't
3000 by
know.
3000?
I at this time, I don't know. But
I'm
that's
not sure if
always
they
for
enforce it either, but
that's been the hey Ted, do you guys enforce the 512K image size?
I have noticed that when I shrunk it down, I recently did an update to one of my podcasts, and I did notice that the update happened a lot quicker after I crunched it.
Mm,
So, I mean, if I traded the artwork out,
yeah.
that the update happened almost within 12 hours of me
The,
uploading
the
it.
the key is to use a new name. Don't name it the
Right,
same thing.
right.
That kind of helps kickstart the process a little bit.
hmm Well, it's
So
because the server sees something new there too. It may
yeah,
pick
yeah,
it
yeah,
up quicker too because it sees a change.
yeah.
Because Apple will scan your RSS feed looking for changes on some sort of a cadence that it has based on your publishing frequency and things like that. So, yeah, it was just an interesting site that I came across because I was looking to crunch my own artwork down because it was too big. So it's a common problem.
So
So
here's the thing that I want to hear from those of you that are listening. You
yeah.
guys stay very, very quiet. And I don't know
Oh
if you're throwing darts at the screen or, w- w- but, Rob and I, we did a pretty deep dive today into this, and me being a little bit expressive in this ad tech and, down in your hearts, where do you guys stand on this? Where do you stand? Are you drinking the Kool-Aid of kissing the advertisers' butts, or um, where do you guys stand on this? Oh, that's interesting.
yeah. Fader Dragon sent us a comment that says Apple Podcasts allegedly no longer prefers 500K image files, and it will take images files of any size. Still best though to keep it under 2 megabytes for sure. So
Ted, is that true?
I would like
Uh,
to think that because I mean I would love
I'd
to
like, yeah,
have
me
my
too. We'd like
images
to,
look as good as they can, right?
yeah.
Because I would think if you crunch it down too far,
They're
you're
doing
gonna
some resizing already in the app, so
yeah. I mean, if
is
you crunch it down too much, it's probably gonna lose some integrity
yeah,
of the image, right?
regardless, yeah, yeah, and depends on the quality of your monitor too. So if you have a color grade monitor, you'll definitely see the change.
Yeah.
I have one color grade monitor that Dell sent me years ago. Well, not that
Mhm.
many years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that I absolutely adore because until you've edited on a color grade monitor, it's pretty. What I mean by color grade is what you see is what is actually um, portrayed. It's the best. It's got the exact color code. You're seeing the real color.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people don't realize it, but computer monitors have different settings in
Yeah.
display of colors, and it also can be driven by your computer too.
I've got a
And
little itty bitty Blackmagic Design monitor,
mhm,
that
mhm,
I can see when I'm doing white balancing with the TriCaster, because the white balancing and color correction that I do for my show with the TriCaster, if I use the monitor, I've just got a
mhm,
cheap Dell monitor off the side,
mhm,
and it's should not be used for that purpose. So that's why I have the small Blackmagic Design monitor that I can see as I'm making the color correction to make sure that
mhm.
what is being streamed is what is again as close to being color corrected as compared to what I'm seeing on that horrible monitor that I have, kind of off to the side of me in the studio, or the old studio.
Yeah. So, given the fact, Todd, that you lost your studio
Yeah.
just prior to you going on your trip, how are you thinking about your new studio going forward? Is there any kind of things that you can share about how you're thinking about building a
Well,
new
yeah,
creator studio?
I'm gonna build a fault studio in the loft.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. Now
Is it gonna
that's
be still the same concept of what you had in your office
we'll see.
space or
We'll see.
okay.
I have a little again, I don't I live my loft is 2,000 square foot, but it doesn't mean
Oh,
I
that's
have
good size, right?
I'm gonna have to get rid of some stuff. I'm gonna have to make some room if I'm gonna build a 10 by 12 room or something like that in the middle of the loft. And and again, sloping ceilings, it's tapered like this.
Right.
So the edges are not I can't go right to the edge of the wall and have a 8-foot vertical space behind me.
Oh, I
So, I
see.
have to be
It's
offset
sloped
from the
behind you and
wall.
sloped behind you. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll get it figured out. I do have one part of the wall that does have a higher vertical, so I'll probably build against that. And then the challenge is the light. This is it has on each end of the loft is this massive wall of windows,
Mhm.
so it has natural light coming from both sides, and that's just going to play hell on trying to get the lighting right, especially when I record at night and the sun is coming in, yeah, it's gonna be a bit of it. So I might have to do blackout curtains on one side of the building.
Well, I mean, you've got big panel lights that you can
Yeah,
put
yeah,
right in
yeah.
front of you to
But
kind of
but
keep
but
keep it
still
balanced
natural
anyway. Right.
yeah, but natural light will still, and because the sun is gonna be changing angles when I normally record,
Right.
it will I can't continue to re-white balance every 15 minutes. So there's gonna have to be some solution. Yeah, I've actually thought about that, Vader, is a customized shipping container. Actually, what I've thought about is like, they sell mobile homes,
Mhm.
and why don't I take a the key would be is to find a half-size mobile home
Right.
that I could convert into a studio. So that's a consideration. But then again, and we do have a place where I can park it, but again, is the bandwidth situation. So I'm going to build in the studio. I'm going to be traveling a lot, so I will build the studio
Mhm.
in the loft and go from there. Basically we have Amish and local communities. So I'm just going to hire them to come in and build me a box.
Are
Um,
you gonna still keep using your TriCaster studio in
well,
a box? Yeah.
probably, but again, we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. I may end up using StreamYard or something else.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, but yeah, Renee, a mobile home studio would be so cool, right? Be able to hitch up to that thing and pull it somewhere. But
Right.
I don't need I don't need $100,000 mobile home. I need a half size,
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
almost like a construction hut or something.
Yeah, like what size, would you, recommend, arena for that? I guess it depends on how big a studio you wanna build, right
Well,
there.
I need a 10 by 12.
10 by
And
12, okay.
I've operated for years by 10 by 12. Matter of fact, the studio in that I had before was only 10 by 10. So,
Yeah, that's about the size of my bedroom here that I'm
yeah,
using
it's a
for
bedroom.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I
So
do well.
it's perfect size. It gives you enough depth behind you as
Yeah,
well
that's
as
key is to have
width.
enough depth behind me. The
Width in
width is
front
not
of
as
you and then
important.
some
Yeah.
windows that you can augment, but have blinds that you can pull down and block
Yeah.
out, which is what I do here.
When I was in the studio in Hawaii, there was a window front left and directly in front and a sliding glass door, which
Mhm.
never really affected me because I recorded at night. So remember when I used to get sunlight shining on my face
Yeah,
when we did
there was always this little beam of light hitting you right here. Right, yeah.
you know,
Back in
back in
Hawaii.
the day,
Yeah, right.
because there was no air conditioning, and, yeah, if I closed the drapes, I'd cook myself out, so,
Oh, that's
uh
right, that's right. You didn't have air conditioning in that house in Hawaii, did
no,
you?
not at
Oh my
all.
goodness. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know
and,
that I could do
it's
that though.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Hawaii, you don't need AC.
I know, but
Yeah, you got the trade
it can
winds.
be really humid there too, right? Can it?
A few days a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. And a ceiling fan is, all you really need to take the edge off usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have
Interesting.
gotten spoiled with air conditioner.
So it's a new kind of phase for you. I mean, it's
Yeah,
going to
so
be
we'll
interesting
see.
to see how it looks and how you come back
Y
from
Yeah,
this,
we'll
right?
we'll we'll see how we'll see how the bandwidth does once
Right.
but one thing is, unique is because I've set up, what's the name of the technology? I talked about it. I had spent a lot of money and upgraded my network stuff, and it's got the ability to do fallback. So I've got Starlink as primary, and
Oh.
then I actually may switch it. I may make um, the point to point because I was able to get an upgrade in speed. I may make the point to point more primary because at least for the show,
Mhm.
because it does okay during rainstorms. So if it rains, Starlink usually goes, belly up. So I would probably make Starlink the backup for the live show.
Mhm.
And plus Starlink penalizes me if I use too much bandwidth where the other provider doesn't.
Mm.
So I've got a tower outside of my house that is about, uh 25, maybe well, it's higher than the second floor, so whatever a two-story home is, and it's got an antenna on it, it's pointing at another antenna about 10 or 15 miles away,
Mhm.
um, and now I'm on a supposed 50 meg connection, but it never gets there. So, there should be enough upload bandwidth using Restream IO to have a single stream going out. I may have to go down to 720 and not push it. Yeah, Ubiquiti. Yeah, that's what I've got. It's a Ubiquiti box. So,
Oh, okay, well,
it
Fader knows what you're doing, I can tell.
yeah, I guess so. Hater must listen to the podcast.
Right. Well, there must be some occasional crossover here, but, yeah, between your Geek News Central and this show, so, right?
It's funny, I've got 2 of these Ubiquiti Dream Machines, and it's just like, "Really?
Yeah.
That was some money," you know?
Well, it's like
So,
those TriCasters that you have are significant
yeah, some
dollars
money
too. Those
too,
are not cheap.
but,
Yeah.
at the same point, those have been amortized over many years, it was to help me with my tax situation, so
You've been you've been, depreciating those for many years, right? Is that what you're
well, you
trying
can
to
only
say?
do it
Yeah.
for 3 to 5 years or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Well, that's
And
still
what's funny is I finally my insurance agent basically because I have now stuff in a storage unit and stuff at the I was, be frank, and I won't say how much, but it's a significant number, more than 6 figures, well, not 7 figures, but a six-figure number in gear, and, no real coverage because I moved it out of a commercial space into residential. And then you have stuff in a storage unit, and I'm like, "Oh my
oh,
god," I need insurance
no insurance, right?
because the insurance I had at the studio was replacement value. If the studio burned down or I got robbed, there was no depreciation. I paid the extra premium for
Mhm. Mhm.
100% replacement value. And, so they had to go back to the underwriter and say, "Hey, here's the situation." And it's taken 2 weeks, and, they let me know the other day that they're going to basically, I have to give them an account of what's in each location, an approximate account, and then the policy is gonna be reissued. So, sigh of relief that at least I have insurance.
That's always a good thing, I think, these days.
Yeah.
Even though insurance rates are going way up on some things, uh, car insurance rates have gone way up, and I know home insurance rates are in the middle of, going
Well,
up
my
as well.
my commercial insurance was about 2,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't see my cost of that policy going down, to be
Mhm.
honest with you, so but anyway, I'm not stressing that right now, Rob. I'm
Well,
Matter of
you're
fact, I'm moving locations. As soon as we get done with the show today, I pack up and move to, a new location. So I'm I'll be. You can't tell because I've got the green screen or whatever it's called up, but I'll be at a new location tonight. So on the move.
So Todd, I saw a post from Neil Vigello on Twitter, kind of commenting about one of our past episodes in our discussion. And Neil's comment is about if hosting companies want to protect the future of RSS, they need to offer more opportunities that can compete with platforms that make them redundant. I think what he's talking about is these, like the Spotify type platforms. I believe that type of a platform, as in more help with marketing and lift, but with results, not just here's how you do it. I think
Okay.
what
Does anybody want? Are they ready to pay for that?
Well, I think you've already kind of pursued that a little bit with your kind of marketing initiative, right? That you've been
Well,
helping podcasters.
again, am I going to? If I'm going to help with marketing, that's money. That costs real money. When a show comes in and says, "Help me with marketing,"
Hmm.
that doesn't. You're not going to get that on a $20 hosting account.
Right. Yeah, I
I
agree
can
with that.
provide you tools. I can provide you clip creation. I can help you with email. I can help you with social posts. We're doing all of that already.
Yeah.
But if you want true marketing assistance, strategizing, these types of things, that's money. That's
Yeah.
big. That's big money. So my
Yeah.
point is that if hosting companies want to protect future artists, they need to offer marketers that can compete with the platforms. I don't have to compete with the platforms because
Right.
I
They're
have to.
aggregating audience. Right.
Right, because we're one to many, not one to one.
Hmm.
Um, as a more help with marketing and lift, but again, do
Yeah.
you know how much I pay for my marketing firm every month?
I would
That's a
imagine.
number.
Oh yeah.
That's a big number. It's a full-time employee number.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I responded to him saying it, Neil, it's hard to disagree with you on podcast audience lift via a better podcast marketing being needed and wanted very badly. The issue is listeners have free choice in where they put
yeah.
their listening time. Listening must be earned in very difficult ways, like word of mouth, and I'm not sure that you can artificially create that. I think it's really kind of a one of those black boxes in podcasting that isn't easily solved.
Yeah. Renee,
Yeah.
what my marketing firm does for me at Blueberry is, most of our social, PR, traditional outreach, um, everything you would think a company would need for marketing, SEM campaigns, that type of stuff. Um, they help with strategy. Um, and again, that comes at a full time employee cost
Hmm.
uh, for a mid level. Um, probably if you're going to do this again, and we're not a big company, so that number probably starts at 60,000 plus annually, for any company that's doing you're not going to engage a marketing firm for anything less than $5,000 a month,
Yeah, which is
and
a typical fee for a PR firm too. So if
right,
you're looking
yeah,
to,
and you're only going to get probably 10, 12 hours a week if you're lucky,
yeah,
um, from that.
yeah,
So, but it's very, very focused, very, very focused task. So,
yeah, and it may or may not work. I mean,
yeah,
that's the question that is always asked, is that it's great to put marketing resources behind your show, but if your show doesn't have hooks in it that can actually connect with audiences, if you
Yeah.
haven't thought about the content enough and you haven't thought about who your audience is and who gets value from your content, then it's difficult to target a marketing campaign to grow
I
that
had a
audience.
customer leave the other day because we were $3 more expensive than a competitor.
Right,
$3.
right. Yeah. There's some price sensitivity there, isn't there? And it also explains why maybe the podcast hosting platforms, and I think you've talked about this lately, haven't raised their prices in all these
Yeah,
years.
we haven't raised our since the beginning.
Yeah.
Since we started hosting, we haven't raised our prices.
Hmm.
But yet everyone's paying 29.95, 49.95, whatever for all these third-party stuff, but, God forbid I'm $3 more expensive than a competitor, yet I offer phone support,
Yeah,
You
which
guys should talk to a human.
most
But
platforms don't do that. Right. I know I did it when I worked at the companies that I worked for. I did phone support, and but from a policy standpoint, a lot of the hosting companies just don't do phone support. And oftentimes the reason for that is that oftentimes their phone support people are outside of the US. So
yeah,
which puts them in different time
well
zones that are not
well,
compatible with a phone call. Right.
our support people are all based in the United
Yeah.
States,
Right.
and,
Right.
so, I have 3 full-time employees that, answer the phones, answer tickets. So,
Yeah. And Fader also agrees with us the best podcast marketing is word of mouth. It's also
yeah,
the
for
most
sure.
difficult type of promotion to get.
Yeah,
That's right, because you're trying to change people's behavior
yeah,
that is very much linked to their own personal self-esteem and their own personal kind of brand in their
yeah.
communities. So getting people to share a recommendation about your podcast is almost like they're they're like part of your team. And
You
it's
know,
difficult to get people on your team.
I'm pretty pro, hiring American help, in we're a US-based company, so we pay US-based wages, US-based, um, compensation packages, the whole 9 yards, and
Yeah.
that doesn't and my programmers are all in the United States, so you know how much programmers cost these days, you're
Yeah.
talking 100K plus for every programmer,
Mhm.
along with packages. Now, I am not against at some point, hiring some people outside of the United States, but when I do, I'm going to pay well above market average. If I do that, I'll probably pay double market average because quite honestly, I don't necessarily agree with, if you're going to ask someone to work for you and do high level US based or even European based standards, then you
Mhm.
need to pay them accordingly and
Yeah.
reward them for that level of competency.
Yeah.
Too many companies take advantage of foreign workers, and it really grinds my ass, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, and why do some of my competitors can offer much cheaper pricing? Their help is all offshore. They
Right.
have a few token people in the United States, and that's it.
Well, it also depends
So,
on where the company's based and where their team is
yeah,
based.
yeah,
Oftentimes there are podcast hosts that just don't have much of a team in the US.
yeah.
They're
They're
outside of the
all
US. Right.
and I don't know, and no one ever discloses what they're paying those international workers.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm pretty pro built in the USA. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know a lot of people don't care about that, but I'm an old guy, so
Well, if you care about support, I think having a team that's US based helps from some aspects of culture compatibility and
well,
expectation
just look what
understanding. Right.
happened with the company that you were working there for a while. What they did.
Right.
Yeah.
And once it gets acquired by a company outside of the US, then, you know, things change.
Well, maybe they're acquired by a company out in the US, so what are they gonna do? They're gonna hire local. They're gonna do just like I do. They're
Well,
gonna
they
hire
need
people in
to,
their own
right?
country. Yeah,
And
yeah.
they are. It appears that they are looking. I'm talking about StreamYard here. Is looking at hiring and keeping staff in the U.S. There was a feeling that they were going to get rid of everybody, but I think they found that maybe that wasn't the
Wasn't
prudent thing to do. Right.
I wanna thank, again, Chad F. for, streaming the show live today. We definitely appreciate you doing that. Let me see if any other boosts have come in. Rob, we're long here, so,
Yeah, we are.
time
Well,
time
it's
to
90
time to
minutes. Yeah.
and I do have a clean audio recording today. I know there was a little bit of, trouble with the audio on the last show, but, I've got a clean recording here today, so knock
Well,
on
that's
wood.
good. That's good. And I'm not sure that we were talking over the top of each other quite as much in this episode as we did
Yeah.
last week, to be honest about it. Yeah.
S So to bring this to a close, I'm Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek News on X. Guess we've made the official transition. Of
Yep.
course, at Geek News, at geeknews.chat on Mastodon. Feel free to reach out to me on any one of those platforms. We really do want to hear what you think about me bashing the ad tech industry.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and I hate to do it because it makes us seem like we're like somehow not with the industry, or we're opposed to people doing things to help people make money, and it's not really our intent. I think.
No, no, not at
Right.
all.
All right.
But I am a little sick of the BS that, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I can be reached on X as well. Here's my information, at Rob Greenlee, and then my email address is rob.greenlee@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me, and then my on my YouTube is at Rob Greenlee as well, and you can find this show on newmediashow.com. So we keep the episodes updated on there, and they're audio and video podcasts. So we are doing actually separate RSS feeds. And the other show that I do every Thursday night, so I do another live show on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, is also available as an audio and video podcast through Todd's Blueberry platform. So it's
So Rob,
yeah.
you're gonna like this. For the first time ever on this episode today, we will use the alternate enclosure, and those on a new podcast
Oh,
app can either listen or watch the show within the same episode, I guess that's, or within the same listing.
okay.
And, so we've got that employed. So Sam, if you're listening, you'll be happy about that.
Yeah, that's awesome,
There
Todd.
was one thing
Yeah.
I was gonna say. What was it? No, I guess it doesn't matter. We'll save it to the next show.
Yep. And podcast movement's coming up soon too. So, I'm gonna try and make it down there, Todd, if I can.
Yeah. So Rob,
So
for the next show, I will be
I'm gonna be out of the pocket too. I'm gonna be in Seattle that week.
yeah, so nothing for the 27th. And of course, then the following show is the following show
Is
I
the
may
4th of
not be
July
available as
weekend.
well.
Right. It's the 4th of
Yeah, I might.
July.
So we may not be back for the next couple weeks.
Okay.
So or maybe we can work some schedule, but the week of the 4th of July, I plan on actually taking true PTO. Even though I'm overseas, I'm going to take a week's vacation and
Oh,
not
okay.
work.
Well, maybe I'll do an episode, a live episode if I have time. So
Okay.
I can
Sounds
bring
good.
on a guest or somebody like that. So,
All right.
all right, Todd.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for
Okay.
being here, and hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you and good night. So.